VTubing is supposed to be a space where anyone can be anything. You can be a dragon, a demon, a robot, bro, you can even be a slice of bread if you want. But there's something kind of weird people don't usually talk about. If VTubing lets you look like anything, why do so few popular VTubers have darker skin tones? Is it just a coincidence? Or is there actually a deeper issue with colorism inside the VTuber community? This video is meant to talk about a current observation I have seen, as well as this video isn't meant to change or harm or direct anyone specifically. At the end of this video, I will have people talking about their views related to the situation and how they've been personally impacted by the VTubing community space. Enjoy. For anyone who doesn't know, VTubers are creators who use animated avatars instead of showing their real face online. The whole thing really exploded after pioneers like Kizuna AI popularized the format, and now huge agencies like Hololive Production and VShojo dominate the space. VTubing has become one of the most creative corners on the internet, but like every online community, it's always reflected on some biases that already exist in real life. Irony! Even though that most of the world is brown, black, or even a darker skin tone, what people usually think of as white media and beauty standards have historically favored lighter skin tones. This phenomena is called colorism. According to Merriam-Webster, colorism is prejudice or discrimination, especially with racial or ethnic groups, favoring people with a lighter skin tone over those with a darker skin tone. And colorism isn't new at all. In parts of the Caribbean, statues of colonial figures still stand in countries where most people have black or brown skin. In parts of Asia, lighter skin has always been treated as a beauty standard for centuries, which is why skin lightening products became so common. Even religion got affected by these ideas. During European colonization, Jesus was often portrayed as a white European man, even though that he was a Middle Eastern man born in Bethlehem and raised in Nazareth. And you can even see these patterns in media. The 2010 live action The Avatar: The Last Airbender got criticized after casting white actors to play characters inspired by Asian and indigenous cultures. Even anime has had conversations like this too. In One Piece, the creator once said that if Usopp, one of the main characters within the show, were to exist in real life, he'd probably be African. Yet in the show, they animate him like this. And luckily, when it came to the live action version of One Piece, they managed to make his character portrayed by using an actual black actor. So what does any of this have to do with VTubers? Well, once you start looking at popular VTuber designs, a pattern starts showing up. A lot of them follow the same aesthetics. Big anime eyes, colorful hair, soft facial features, big titties. However, usually very light skin tones. Now, to be fair, that doesn't automatically mean creators are intentionally excluding darker skin tones. A huge part of VTuber designs come directly from anime art styles, and anime has historically leaned towards lighter complexions. In Japan, lighter skins were usually associated with a higher class social status for centuries, while darker skin was often associated with outdoor labor and farming. One example is The Tale of Genji, written by noble woman poet Murasaki Shikibu around the year 1000. The story constantly describes noble women as beautiful because of their pale, flawless skin. Those beauty ideals lasted for centuries and even influenced fashion, makeup, anime, and even modern media. And because VTubing grew directly out of anime culture, a lot of those same standards naturally carried over into the VTuber space. And then there's the algorithm side of things. Platforms usually push content that already performs well, so if the biggest VTubers all have certain kinds of designs, newer creators might feel pressured to follow that same formula just to have a better chance at success. Over time, that creates a feedback loop. One style becomes the default, and anything outside that can look like it ended up getting less attention. Not because it's bad, but because it's different from what audiences are already used to seeing. And conversations about biases online aren't exactly new. Back in 2022, the YouTuber Koryax Kenshin publicly questioned why YouTube treated his content differently compared to other creators. The discussion got even bigger when the YouTuber Markiplier supported him publicly. The whole situation sparked a much larger conversation about algorithms, visibility, and how creators of color can experience online platforms differently. And this conversation has even come up within the VTuber community itself. VTuber Kenji has talked in clips and streams about racism online affecting the way he approached his avatar and presentation. When people found out more about his real appearance, discussions online immediately started comparing him to his lighter skin avatar. And honestly, the fact people focus so heavily on skin tone in the first place says a lot. Because some creators feel like using a lighter skin or racially ambiguous avatars can help them avoid harassment, stereotypes, and instant online judgment. Which is kind of ironic when you think about it. VTubing was supposed to be the space where anyone can be anything, yet some creators still feel pressure to fit into the same beauty standards that exist in real life. Something I want to highlight Even when people of color try to create spaces for themselves so that they have some way to share acknowledgement and to share their own works and passions, this itself gets backlash for being discriminatory against people with lighter skin tones, even though that these people are trying to create a space for themselves so that they can share the acknowledgement that they rarely receive due to the fact how in modern beauty standards, just favoring lighter skin tone is just the norm compared to favoring darker skin tone. When I was on Twitter, apparently there was a Black VTuber award thing going on a while back, and like a lot of the comments itself were all just racist and just made fun of anyone who was in it, which itself shows how the VTubing community sucks when it comes to handling brown or black creators. At the end of the day, this isn't about attacking VTubers, anime, or even saying creators with lighter skin avatars are doing something wrong. The point is that even in a digital world where people can be anything or can literally look like however they want to perceive themselves, beauty standards still exist even in these spaces, and biases still manage to follow us. And that's important to think about, because VTubing has the potential to be one of the most creative and expressive spaces on the internet. A space where people from different cultures, backgrounds, and appearances can take characters that truly represent themselves. But for that to happen, audiences have to be open to designs that don't fit the exact safe aesthetic we've gotten used to seeing over and over again. And maybe the real question isn't why there's so fewer dark-skinned VTubers. Maybe the better question is, why does the internet still make some creators feel safer hiding behind a lighter skin in the first place?
Well, talking about the VTuber space and being a person of color in it is always been kind of weird and hard to talk about.
It's a little disheartening.
I would say it's genuinely disheartening. I've been in the space as a VTuber for 3 years now, and I have to work 3 times as hard to be seen in comparison to my white/light skin counterparts.
I personally deal with a lot more racism than I ever expected to when joining the space, right? I used to be someone who showed my face. I was a face cam streamer, and I dealt with my racism, of course, when showing who I am and all of my brownness.
To be honest, it's a little disheartening, especially when a lot of people within the community like to preach about the space being very inclusive, which in my opinion is not really true.
A lot of black and dark skin content creators utilize a white or white passing model in order to just be successful in this space and to avoid the intense racism that comes with being openly black or dark skin online. I even considered it when I was starting out because I was hit with a wave of racism from my comments on my Twitch and Twitter calling me racial slurs or insulting me solely because I was openly black. And that's disappointing. The VTuber space should have way more diversity than it does for a community that spouts incessantly about the wide variety of creativity within this community. Furthermore, I believe it shows that many individuals' view of beauty within the VTuber space is much more narrow-minded than we would like to believe. The fact that many individuals who see my content say that I'm the first black VTuber they've ever seen displays that there is clearly not enough uplifting and highlighting of those of us who are in the space already.
When it came to becoming a VTuber, initially, I was hit with just this massive amount of racism and lashback because I started VTubing in around like 2020/2021. And there weren't really that many people of color VTubers, and that was a little difficult. Especially for my mental health. I feel like my mental health tanked a lot when starting out. Because I was like, I literally felt like I couldn't win. Like, it didn't matter if I showed my face or if I hid my face. The fact that I'm brown just means that I am disadvantaged because people just, I don't know, man. There's people who have just so much hatred in their hearts, right?
But I've been in the community for about 5 years now. Yeah, 5 years now. And personally, I've experienced more racism within the community than going outside. And that's personally, in my opinion, that says a whole lot to me because I live in fucking Florida. But we're not going to get to that. I personally think a lot of people lack taste when it comes to watching VTubers. And no, I don't mean to say that the VTubers they watch are boring, because that is totally untrue. I mean, they refuse to spice things up just for a little bit. They refuse to spice things up to try to watch someone that's not pale and light skinned, thinking we're probably not as entertaining as our other peers. But I don't really see a lot of people giving us a chance to show our potentials unless we're working 10 times harder or doing something so unique that it catches their attention.
At the same time, I was like, do I even want the viewers that don't like people of color? And the answer is no, right? The answer is you don't want those people in your communities. You don't want those people like who are just that toxic around you. But at the same time, it's like, to grow as a creator, you need more eyes on you all the time. And the sad part is, for those of you guys who don't know, is statistically on YouTube, you will get less click-through rates, which means like there's a thing called like click-through rate versus impressions. You have a slower click-through rate if you're someone of color. And if you're someone of color and a VTuber, you have an even lower percentage. That's a fun fact, which is something I had to work through a lot when it came to like my YouTube managers and people who I have analyzed my channel and their statistics. It has been definitely a really hard time in those aspects where it's like it affects your numbers, and if you want to do this as a job, which I do it full time, it sucks to have to deal with that because it's your money and your income. But at the same time, it feels really heartwarming when you have some people who shift perspective. Some people who maybe don't like VTubers, or some people who just never really watched like a woman of color as a content creator, and they watch me and they're like, oh, I like this. This is really refreshing. Oh, I like you. And it's almost like something out of their comfort zone, but I'm exposing them to something that's a little bit new. And I'm like, yeah. And some people will feel like offended by that, where they're like, well, you should just inherently like things that are foreign to you when it comes to skin tone, because we're all people at the end of the day, we're all skeletons. But personal preferences and biases are just natural to come across. And in reality, it's the reason why when it comes to like video games and when it comes to media, people tend to like to see themselves reflected in characters, which is why we have like a very large demographic of like white facing and white representing characters. I don't think it's a bad thing either way, but I think it's very uplifting and refreshing to see more people becoming comfortable and aware in the space. Now, at the same time, over the past year, the racism has definitely escalated very harshly in the VTuber space again. I feel like the surge has been ridiculous to the point where we have VTubers openly saying like, fuck India. That's a quote, by the way. And we have other VTubers who are talking about like just weird things, like appropriating and making VTuber models with referring to themselves as monkeys and saying, oh, I did my hair in a black hairstyle because it's dirty and unwashed. And it just feels like everything's a mockery now, and it's been really frustrating. It's been really frustrating to see it all. At the same time, I feel like the more that, you know, black voices, brown voices, people of color in general in the scene, like unite, especially those of darker skin tones, like come together and just stay happy and stay bright, the better it is. It just sucks that other VTubers in the space, not just fans who are like rabid, are capitalizing off of racism now, and it's working. And that sucks. But at the same time, as I stated at the beginning, do you really want those people around? Do you really want those people in your community, the ones who like agree with that rhetoric? No. So I'm not really losing out on that much value when it comes to that. But at the same time, it does hurt, right? Seeing how openly people are filled with hate, not because of the content of my character, but because of the color of my skin. And that fucking sucks.